Hey guys, welcome to this special episode of Jae Explains. The next episode of Unbound isn't ready yet, primarily because it revolves around council meetings, and the next one isn't until later in the week, which would leave a 7-day gap between uploads. Not I, said this guy. So I'm going to talk about some interesting social events that have transpired recently, and I want to start with the "it's okay to be white" situation. 4chan has cemented its status as legend with its incredible trolling of anti-white racists. I am the grand arbiter of absolutely nothing, but in my opinion, anyone can be racist, and there has been this vigorous anti-white, particularly anti-white male, sentiment that has saturated American culture lately. And this event illustrates exactly how premeditated it has all been. On the post organizing this stunt, they predicted the media backlash of people taking the placing of these simple flyers as an inherently racist act, and that's exactly what happened.
Students found flyers taped up at a high school that say it's okay to be white. And now there are some racist online threats connected to them.
Just evil motivation and just go back into your hole.
The high school's principal says this was posted to 10 exterior doors to the school and that this appears to be a concentrated effort to foment racial and political tension.
Look, there have been several instances in life where I've been amongst white people where an incident will occur that could offend me, but I end up having to check the Caucasian that decided to get offended for me. I am a descendant of slaves, and I'm telling you to relax. The white guilt is too strong, and they're overcompensating. And while you may mean well, the notion that I can't defend or think for myself is ultimately more racist than calling me a nigga and punching me in the face, which actually has happened to me, so chill the fuck out. Good people come in all shades, including and in many instances, especially white. So if this flyer offends you,
who the fuck is you?
Now, on to Candace Owens, aka Red Pill Black. Let me catch you up. The act of doxing is releasing someone's private information online for anyone to see and find without their permission. Ms. Owens created a website designed to dox the entire internet, specifically targeting children. Sounds like a bad idea? Well, that's because it is. Ending bullying by encouraging bullying is redundant, reckless, and counterproductive. So when she tried to get funding last year, her Kickstarter got shut down. A few months back, Miss Owens pops up in my recommended vids as Red Pill Black. She presents herself as a conservative and was spouting pretty decent talking points, so of course I subbed. I mean, she's a hot black chick, duh. But this was before I knew about the website Social Autopsy, and how a year earlier she'd been presenting herself as a progressive. But the kicker was that the site was functional, and she was still seeking funding. Tree of Logic, Warski, and countless other skeptics rightfully called her out for the doxing site. And at that moment, she had a choice. Own it, admit it was a bad idea, and move on, or she could play the victim, stating how the criticism she was receiving was a paid campaign and how people think she's a CIA operative and a whole bunch of silly shit, basically brushing everyone off until she heard Blair White, another prominent figure on this platform, calls her trash. So they set up a debate where Candace reminded me of every interaction with a woman blatantly lying in the wrong that I have ever seen.
Right. So I just want to start off because we just had a conversation off camera. She posted something that said my predictions that I talked about. I'm not comfortable using the she pronoun, not because it's not anything to be disrespectful. It's just that a lot of people that follow me don't know that Blair is trans, and a lot of people that follow her.
Out of all the YouTubers who dug stuff up about you, I never made a video. I'm a YouTuber. If I don't think something...
You jumped on a video.
I jumped on a video.
It was a 4-hour stream.
Which I was on for probably 15 minutes.
An hour and 15 minutes, exactly.
I was not on a stream for an hour and 15
minutes. You were on
minutes.
for an hour and 15 minutes until Barbara came on the stream. I watched it.
I was not on for an hour and 15 minutes.
All right, so let's do this. Let's just to
So I think calling it an archive, I mean, it literally is an archive, but it's also a doxing website. Anytime you publish people's personal information, it is doxing.
It's not personal information.
Why not?
Because it was public.
Because it was on Facebook, that's still the definition of doxing. If you share someone else's...
No, it's not.
If you share someone...
No, it's not. You can't change the definition of doxing.
Hold on. I actually have the definition right here.
Good.
If you share someone else's personal information without their consent, it is doxing, especially when it comes
Google
to kids.
doxes everyone?
I'll finish. Especially when it comes to kids. I mean, she's definitely playing the whole, like, wanting to protect kids thing, which I think, honestly, your heart could have very well been in the right place. But the reality is, when you aggregate information of children and you attach it to where they go to school, which was the intent of your website, in fact, you actually said that it was the best time to be on the website if you were a child because it teaches you.
Can you slow? I literally can't follow you right now.
You said that it was the best time to be on your website when you're a child because it teaches them responsibility of what they say online, right?
We said that in a video.
You
there
said that
not
in a video.
A single child was on there because,
I'm not saying there was. I didn't say there was.
Yeah, because we didn't want to shut off. Like, if people asked questions, we didn't want to shut off the possibility of having children. If we found out this worked and this was harmless and, you know, no harm, no foul, we didn't want to come out and say we're never going to put a minor on here because, again, the whole reason I thought of the idea was because of what happened to me when I was a minor.
Well, it's actually illegal to even put the child's information on there.
There was no children, so this is like a fantasy conversation right now.
It's not a fantasy conversation. It was your intent. So that's what you don't really understand. You think that because the website didn't actually come to fruition that people still don't have a right to criticize the idea of it. That's exactly what you think. But regardless, you made it very clear that your intent was to put that information on your website. It actually violates the Children's Internet Protection Act. So it was illegal. So that's why your Kickstarter was actually
all right, wait, hold on. So let's pause for a second.
There were no children on it. You're talking about...
I'm not saying that there was. I'm saying you had the intent.
This is a wild imagination you had. So you're saying that if this was your intent, like, just so we're clear, we're here because if this was your intent and if it had happened, even though it didn't, right?
Candace.
That's why we're pissed and that's why we're trying to ruin everything that you are, because we have decided that we are policing what could have, would have, and should have happened. Is that correct? Didn't happen. You're admitting it didn't happen. But you're talking about acts.
Are you going to let me finish?
She's literally bringing up laws right now that could have been violated, even though it wasn't violated, even though it wasn't created, because your intent is what we were criticizing. I intend to drive drunk. I don't drive drunk.
Can you let me respond?
It just makes no sense. You're not making sense.
Because
did I do it? Yes or no?
Maybe if I could finish a sentence, you'd understand that I am making sense. But if I can't actually reveal my point to you, how are you going to?
And it's not a dox. We need to stick with the definition of doxes. That is where things went.
I do want to clear up some definitions.
Like, I need to be able to finish what I'm saying is the thing. Like,
being disrespectful, navigating away from the main topic, becoming very animated, and exerting hostile energy in a situation that, if it were to escalate, could only benefit her. And Dr. Jordan Peterson has something for this.
I know how to stand up to a man who's unfairly trespassing against me. And the reason I know that is because the parameters for my resistance are quite well defined, which is we talk, we argue, we push, and then it becomes physical, right? Like if we move beyond the boundaries of civil discourse, we know what the next step is. Okay, that's forbidden in discourse with women. And so I don't think that men can control crazy women. I really don't believe it. I think that they have to throw their hands up in it's not even disbelief. It's that there's no step forward that you can take under those circumstances.
Mr. Rubin wasn't ready, and the entire debate was a mess. But I think it's a great learning exercise in remaining calm and logical when your opponent is pressing the emotional buttons trying to get that rise out of you. But that's why Mr. Rubin was out of his element in moderating. When you're confronted with this type of energy, recognize it, but don't give in. So let's wrap this up with a little conversation about rape culture. For a long time, I refused to believe that we have one here in the West. We demonize rapists. They get raped in prison. No one celebrates sexual assault, and the mere accusation can destroy the reputation and livelihood of the accused, if they are a man. I did a video called Where's the Inequality? Link in the description, where I specifically highlight the overabundance of female teachers taking advantage of young men. Our laws protect and coddle female sexual abusers with lesser prison sentences, and socially we are engineered to believe in the inherent virtues of women, despite all willingness to recognize the true equality when it comes to the depravity of human nature. Feminism hijacks everything it gets its hands on, so the verbiage, such as rape culture and toxic masculinity, carry with it a preconceived notion that tilts perception in favor of women, while simultaneously ignoring the facts that men and boys can be victims of such manipulations, as well at the hands of women. This summer, I saw a young man ready to kill another kid because he said he touched him inappropriately. That's disturbing. These are two young black men, and regardless of how either of them picked it up, this is learned behavior. The adults in their life introduced them to such notions, and they spread it beyond the walls of their homes. So yes, there is a rape culture here in the West. It's part of what has eroded community trust and the American family. It is what has made the liberation from tradition justifiable. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and far too many of the vulnerable have fallen victim to the powerful, propped up by status and position, provided by the establishment, as a means to keep the herd in line. I'm just a moron trying to get cannabis production and manufacturing in urban communities to combat poverty, so I am in no position to fix these deep-seated problems, but I do feel a need to point them out. So, thanks so much for watching. If you have any ideas of how we can approach this very serious issue of gender-neutral rape culture, please leave a comment. Like or hate the video, click the corresponding thumb, and sub if you like. Or not. I'm not your dad. Working on 29, and until then, love.